So I was going to write a really nice intro for Elon, and I realized everybody here knows far more probably than I do, and you don't want to hear me talk. So, Elon?
As you guys probably know, Tesla didn't organize this. This is sort of a spontaneous thing from sort of Tesla owners. We were trying to figure out what are the things we should be doing differently or better or focusing on, and just kind of the thought I had was to really have kind of a town hall, kind of back and forth sort of conversation. I mean, obviously the goal of Tesla is really to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport. So there are plenty of car companies in the world. There's not really a need for a new car company, just another gasoline car company or anything like that. But there is a need for a company that's pushing for sustainable transport. Something that, if you extrapolate into the future, you can see a sort of a positive, bright future. And I actually didn't think that it would be necessary to do something like Tesla, because I thought at one point, when there was the EV1 and the original electric RAV4, that things were kind of headed in the right direction, and I thought for sure GM would do like the EV2 and the EV3 and everything would be fine. And then of course that's not what happened. As soon as California changed its regulations, GM recalled the EV1 and crushed them in a parking, in a junkyard. And then people actually held a candlelit vigil as though someone was, it was sort of a capital punishment type of thing. And which just amazed me, because, I mean, it's really quite rare for people to hold a candlelit vigil about a product. It's really unusual. So it was clear that the sort of the forcing function needed to come from a company, a new company, and so we created Tesla, starting off obviously with the Tesla Roadster, and in the beginning people said, well, you're not going to be able to make a car that looks good and goes fast and has long range, and then we did, and then they said, well, nobody's going to buy it. So then, thank you for buying, by the way. In fact, I'm really deeply appreciative of everyone that bought a Tesla, because without people like you, Tesla wouldn't be around. I mean, it needs people that are forward-thinking, that are willing to take a chance on a new product from a new company, and that's critical to making it work. So we did the Roadster, and we actually got a lot of flack from people that thought, well, that the reason me and JB and Martin, Mark, and Ian, and everyone else, the reason that we'd created the company, they thought was because we felt that there was a shortage of sports cars for rich people. And so that's why I wrote that blog, several years ago, just to explain, no, that wasn't actually the reason that we created the company. But in order, whenever you've got something that's the first version of the technology, and it's in low production volume, whatever you do, it's going to be expensive. So, and people are only prepared to pay sort of a lot for something like a sports car. And then now with the Model S, we're coming to step 2 of the plan, which is kind of a medium volume car. And then the step 3 we want to get to as soon as possible, which is sort of a low price, high volume car. And that's where we're headed. But obviously, vital to all of that is our customers that are willing to buy the cars like the Model S and support the company along the way. So we want to make sure that we're sort of doing the smart things to get there, and just looking for feedback and ideas, and also happy to answer any questions. Bearing in mind the obvious constraint that as a public company, anything I say will be pounced upon by the media. Let's just dive right into kind of the conversation and the questions. Should we start there?
Hi, Elon. Cole Wilcox from Longboard Asset Management. What are you guys going to do in terms of an official economic incentive for your single greatest customers, and to kind of fuel the feedback loop as you go forward in time to expand all over the world?
From my PayPal days, we spent a lot of time thinking about how to create a viral growth engine, which was, and I mean the keys to that are, of course, reducing the friction of buying and reducing the friction of referral, so making it really easy to buy and refer, and then creating an incentive, and I think one of the keys is to create an incentive both for the person doing the referral as well as the buyer. In that way, if by referring someone both parties actually benefit, then it works well. Our issues right now are actually not so much demand generation as they are production related. So, which is not as easy to solve as it may seem. In order for a production to grow, we have to have the whole supply chain move in cadence, because there are several thousand unique parts in the car, and even if some of those parts, even if just a few of them are missing, then we can't raise production, because then people are missing parts of their car and they get very upset about that. And sometimes it can be the most trivial thing. Like at one point, there was a shipment of trunk carpet that was coming from a supplier in Mexico that there was a drug shootout at the border. I kid you not, this is like a real thing. And so then we had to pile up cars in the yard to wait for a new shipment of trunk carpet. And now trunk carpet obviously is not going to be a long-term constraint, because there's, it's not one can produce large amounts of that. But there are some of the tougher things. I think one of the bigger challenges for us is going to be lithium-ion cell production. So we're working with our main partner, Panasonic, on ramping up lithium-ion cell production, and I think actually that's probably going to be the main constraints on our production growth for a few years to come. Because we need a lot of battery. So I think we will consider engaging sort of a viral growth engine, but we first need to address our production constraints.
Thank you.
All right.
Hi, I'm Georgiana Elizabeth Penny Keys, and I'm a very small shareholder, very happy, and from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I just wanted to say how much, from the very bottom of my heart, I appreciate everything that you have done and are doing.
Well, thank you.
And I'm sure we'll do in the future, which I'm looking forward to now. And I can't say this with enough emphasis, but I really felt like there was no future. And you've provided that for me, you and the entire Tesla team. And I can't thank you enough for that. And it's only recently I realized just how deeply it's impacted me on just a day-to-day level. And I think that Leilani's comments about this company as hope is really, really true. And I couldn't think of any way to say thanks except my little T-shirt and a little bottle from some friends of mine in Sonoma County. They're starting their own.
You're most welcome. Yeah. Everybody got a bottle opener? Are you serious? That's what you call livening things up. It's alive. All right.
So, but just wanted to say thanks for the car.
You're welcome.
It's been really great. I was wondering, what do you see as the biggest challenge for Tesla in the next several years?
The biggest challenge for Tesla is, I think, scaling up. We've got to figure out how to be, get bigger without losing focus, or kind of, when companies get get big, sometimes they get this sort of like big company-itis, and they turn all corporate and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's mostly about scaling up, and I mean, there's just, see, the thing is that right now, even though we're making, I don't know, somewhere in the order of, call it an annualized rate of 25,000 or more a year on an annualized basis, that's still a very tiny drop in the bucket, because in order to move to a sustainable future, there have to be a really huge number of electric cars made, and every year there are about roughly 90 million cars made a year, and there's an existing kind of install base of almost or on the order of 2 billion cars. So at our current production rates, that would take a very long time. So we have to figure out how to scale up in a very significant way, and then we need to figure out how to scale up battery production and the things that are kind of unique to electric cars. That's we want to try to do that as fast as we reasonably can without impairing the product quality and still being able to sort of service things well and that kind of thing. For a while there, I thought that, you know, when Tesla showed that you can make a compelling electric car with long range and all these good features, and that if you did, that people would buy it, I thought for sure that the car industry would look at that and say, oh, now we've seen the light, and we're going to go make electric cars too. This is not the case. It's quite shocking, actually.
Good news for Tesla.
Yeah. The thing is, the reason I'm doing this is because I think we need to accelerate the advent of sustainable transport. So, you know, I'd much rather that there were competitors to Tesla than weren't. But amazingly, the only action I see from the big car companies are that which would satisfy the minimum regulatory requirements. So I think in order for them to take action, they have to feel competitive pressure, and so that means that I think Tesla's got to scale up production in a significant way, and when they feel competitive pressure, then I think that they'll be more inclined to produce electric cars.
Thanks.
All right.
Bill Stillman, I'm a Model S signature owner. I just wanted to say thank you for not restricting the use of the screen while we're driving, which so many cars do, or making us punch a little legal thing that says, I promise not to use the screen. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I agree.
I love that feature.
Yeah.
But my question is, when are we going to have a Model S Hot Wheels?
Oh, good question. I actually was wondering that myself.
Oh, okay.
You know, well, Hot Wheels they have their own. I think they're owned by Mattel or one of the toy companies. And they actually have one for the Roadster.
Yeah.
And but I was asking that question myself, and apparently they tend to make them only for sports cars or cars they think that people want. But I was like, I think people would want the Model S. One too. So I think maybe some letter of encouragement to them to do it would be.
All right, you guys write a letter to Mattel.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
my name is Bob Fitzgerald. I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, a Roadster owner. Earlier today, a number of us were together in a breakout talking a little bit about the Roadster. And the question is, we all understand that your focus and Tesla's focus in the next few years has to be on X and Generation 3. But we're hoping that there'll still be some capacity to do some nice things for the base of the Roadster owners, maybe HPCs at supercharger stations or some of them, and perhaps refreshes of the battery pack down the line. Do you think that with, there's still limitations on your resources, do you think that that may be possible?
well, we are going to do something special for Roadster owners next year. So I can't say what that is, but it's going to be. I think it'll be pretty cool. So yeah.
Thank you.
But the key thing we've got to get through in the balance this year is the European introduction, which is going on right now, the rollout of the supercharger stations, and then we've got to finish the design and engineering of the Model X. And as we get through that, which hopefully we'll get through the bulk of that in the next 6 months, then I think we'll do something for our Roadster owners next year.
Last comment is just between the work that you've done with Tesla and with SpaceX, I personally think your biggest accomplishment is you've made it possible again to dream really big.
Great.
Thanks for that.
Hi, Elon. I'm John Younger, and I have to
Yes,
say,
pour some more wine here.
absolutely,
I'm telling you, this is going to get better and better as
it
the.
is. The marital bliss problem and the custody issue got solved for us with my bride of 12 years by getting a second Tesla. So with the
Excellent.
Roadster and the S, it's easier. As a fellow CEO,
Yeah.
I understand you have to look at the resources at your fingertips and use them to their optimal level.
Right.
You're sitting in front of a resource.
Yep.
What can we do besides building battery factories to help?
Well, I think you're doing a lot already, which is to sort of spread the good word, and to sort of show your friends and family and people you encounter the Model S, and for a lot of people out there who are not early adopters and who, I mean, most people are not early adopters, and new technology it scares most people at least a little bit. So anything you do to make people believe that that electric cars are the future and it's the way to go and it's worth taking a chance, I think is actually incredibly valuable.
We got that done.
So, all right.
Howard Horn from White House Station, New Jersey. I realize that Tesla sort of spans consumer electronics and automobiles. And in consumer electronics, it's been very easy for manufacturers to, in essence, go down market. That's what's expected. In automobiles, it's been much harder. And really the success stories have been auto manufacturers that go up market. Ones that try and go down market end up sometimes not existing. Given also that Tesla is sort of used to dealing with customers who are willing to accept being early adopters and that which goes along with it as you get more upmarket or more mass market rather, people may be less willing to accept that. Given those two circumstances, how do you, and your previously stated difficulty with ramping up and buying batteries, how do you plan to address that?
Well, I do get a lot of questions about sort of brand and brand strategy and all that. I mean, I actually don't really pay much attention to such things. I mean, I think I just view it as there need to be a very large number of electric cars made because we've got to change out the base of hydrocarbon burning cars, and so we just need to do that. And I don't really care if it means that we have a less premium brand or anything like that. I guess we'll make the third generation car, which I mean it's not going to be super cheap, but it's going to be sort of in the $35,000 range. Although when you take into account the savings from gasoline, it's actually going to be effectively like close to a $25,000 car. And I think there probably will be some increase in gasoline prices over time. And
You think?
So I think it should be effectively like buying a gasoline car that costs in the 20s of thousands of dollars. I mean we're gonna do it. So it may or may not be successful, but we're gonna do it anyway. So.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rahul Sanad from Los Angeles, and I have a Tesla watch.
We do not make Tesla watches, I should point out.
It's electric. But, it seems like we're on the brink of a pretty big transformation that will be driven by electric vehicles, possibly solar power generation, autopilot, driverless technologies, and maybe even like hyperloopy things. But if you extract that out like 10 or 15 or 20 years, like what do you think the really big impacts on kind of society and life as we know it will be? Like, is it, that our cars are going to drop us off and go park themselves in the suburbs? Right. Or like, just what do you think the real big, material effects kind of long term are?
Well, I mean, the first order of business is definitely to ensure that transport and energy are sustainable. And it's somewhat, obviously, it's tautological because if it's unsustainable, then independent of any environmental impacts, there will be economic collapse as the scarcity becomes significant. So the first order of business, and the reason we haven't sort of done too much on the kind of autopilot or self-driving car front is because it's very important to transition to electric, and then of course to have sustainable power generation, which I think is is solar. And solar is really just indirect fusion. And I think we will need to transfer all modes of transport to electric, with the ironic exception of rockets, which I wish we could go electric, but it's just really difficult to get away from Newton's third law. Although I do think it'll be possible to generate the fuel with solar power, and the next generation fuel that we'll be using at SpaceX is methane. So you can generate CH4 with CO2 and H2O, and that's going to be important anyway for refueling on Mars. Anyway, so I think sustainability is the most important thing. Then, in terms of adding in kind of an autopilot function to the car, I mean, the way I look at sort of that autopilot or self-driving is that it's essentially active safety in the limit. So as you improve active safety features like active cruise control, lane departure, reading street signs and so forth, and you keep doing that, then eventually you get to where the car can pretty much be on autopilot for most, if not all, of the journey. That is something that we're going to be working on in a big way in the next few years. But it's, like I said, it's sort of a B priority relative to scaling up electric transport. It will probably change how things work. Like you won't need to, like, it's nice not having to go find a parking spot, and there are probably ways that it'll change that are hard to envision today. But I think the first order of business, the really pressing one, is to make sure that we're minimizing the amount of carbon that we're putting into the atmosphere, because that's we're running this crazy chemical experiment, which is a very, very difficult thing to reverse, and I think it's really important that we stop running that chemical experiment. So.
Thank you.
Hi, Jan. I'm Bob Wilson from San Jose. Thank you for building my dream car, the first American car I ever wanted to buy. Regarding the Model S, you have a room full of experts here. To steal a phrase, tell us something we don't know. One thing about the past. One thing about the past design decision that you haven't talked about previously, and something that's coming in the near future in our Model S's that we might not have heard about yet.
Wow, okay. Vino Veritas. There sure were a lot of adventures along the way in creating the Model S. Adventure being the best word I can possibly imagine for. Some of them were quite difficult and nightmarish. What a lot of people actually maybe don't realize is that the primary optimization, or really the thing we focused on more than anything with the Model S, was safety. And in fact, when we did the unveiling of the first car at the Fremont factory, I started off my presentation talking about safety and showing crash videos. That didn't seem to resonate too much with the crowd. So I sort of didn't talk about it all that much after that. But I think of anything that we're actually most proud of with the Model S, is what we've done on the safety side. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, there's never been a permanent injury in the Model S. So no fatalities that I'm aware of, and not even a permanent injury. So maybe somebody got some bruise. Now, statistically speaking, that's unlikely to remain the case. When you have tens of thousands of cars and hundreds of millions of miles and that kind of thing. But so far, so good. But in order to achieve the highest possible safety rating, we did have to do some sort of kludgy things in the car. Like, for example, the B-pillar, whereas the car is almost entirely, the body and chassis are aluminum, the B-pillar has a high-strength bore and steel insert in order to improve the side crash protection, which is really unnecessary because if we'd properly designed the B-pillar, we could have done the whole job with just aluminum and made it a lot simpler. And it's also got these expensive aerospace-grade bolts and all sorts of things. So that's something that I think we could probably make lighter and maybe even better with a redesign. In the rear, if you get the third row, we have a double bumper system. So there's actually an aluminum bumper and a steel bumper, and the threshold is that is to ensure that if the car is impacted in the rear at highway speeds, that any third row occupants do not suffer permanent injury.
Aloha again, Elon.
Hey.
I'm from Hawaii, and Tesla is loved in Hawaii. We have lots and lots and lots of owners.
Great.
Island economies are particularly affected by a lot of the climate change issues and the price of oil. And so I know you're focused right now on Europe, which I hope it goes great. I think it will go great.
Yeah.
But there's about 25,000 island economies that are meaningful around the world, everywhere from the Canary Islands to the Hawaiian Islands. When you have time and when you have resources, we'd sure love a showroom in some of these islands and a service center. I know that in Hawaii, where some of us have cars, it would be a great service. And you know, we have 8 million tourists that come to Hawaii from both the east and the west. And I mentioned this at the stockholders meeting 2 years ago. Just want to keep lobbying for resources for the islands. Thank you very much.
Duly noted.
I'll bring you some macadamia nuts to go with your wine.
Right. In fact, I love macadamia nuts, and I've eaten particularly the chocolate-covered ones. But I believe we actually have a service center in Hawaii. Where is our Hawaii service center? In Honolulu. Okay.
Given that there were extreme challenges in both of these companies, which was harder for you to deal with? Because space travel has its own set of technical challenges, but commercial automobiles, you have to deal with all the legal, many 50 states, dealers associations, and all that stuff. What were some of the, what was harder to do?
Yeah, that's a tricky one to answer. I think the nature of the challenge varies between space and automotive. I mean, in the space situation, it's almost entirely a technical challenge.
There are no lawyers in space.
Right. There are regulations that one has to follow, of course, in order for the FAA and of course, if you've worked on shuttle stuff, that NASA has quite a significant body of regulation. Sorry? And NORAD, yeah, exactly. So we have to meet basically the FAA, NASA, and Air Force requirements on the space side. But still, it's not as the law and regulations are not as significant in space as they are with automotive, and there is not really kind of a sales and service and distribution problem with rockets. So we don't have to deal with that. So that's why it's sort of more a greater percentage of the problem is just engineering. And whereas in cars, you've got, as I said, you've got to deal with all of the nuances of 50 states and dozens of countries, and then you've also got to deal with the fact that the product is out in the field. Whereas with the rocket, it's we don't have to worry about whether other people can use the rocket, and that's the sort of nature of the challenge. But I think that they're really both quite hard, and it's difficult to say whether one is really harder than the other.
Well, congratulations on your success in both.
All right, thanks.
Hi, Elon. My name is Vernon Huang. I'm a local Model S owner. I have a software update feature request that a lot of people in this room may not have thought of. I was out with my wife and another couple on her birthday, and we were struck by a reckless driver. Everyone was fine. The Model S held up well. You know, nobody had any severe injuries. The M5 didn't fare so well.
Oh yeah, actually, I think I saw the photos of that. In fact,
I tweeted you and you tweeted me back. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. I mean, obviously, one doesn't want to make a marketing event out of such a thing, but I mean, the M5 was destroyed.
I have the dash cam video if you're interested in seeing it. I'm not sharing it out electronically. But my request is that the car mechanically protected us really, really well.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you'd heard any requests for the software to proactively detect these kind of catastrophic events and do things like turn off the radio, turn off the buzzers that are going off and distracting me because I know the airbags are in my face and something's wrong. And maybe put up a center screen with shortcuts to things like dialing 911, putting the car in tow mode, putting on the parking brake.
Oh, that's a good suggestion.
And tips on things like preserving the 12-volt battery, because eventually my 12-volt battery died and then my car kind of shut down and had to be dragged. But and I didn't have the presence of mind and all the craziness to know that if I jumped the battery, that we could probably turn some of the systems back on. So actually, that's the feature request I have.
I think actually that's a good suggestion. I will do that.
My question is one to which I got a negative response at the factory. And I know you have capacity issues, but I'm wondering when we're going to see a Tesla truck. The potential to reduce carbon emissions in light and large trucks, especially commercial, not just pickup trucks, there's a tremendous opportunity there to reduce the carbon footprint.
I totally agree with that. I definitely, I'm quite keen on building a truck. And I think there's a lot one can do with truck technology. Like one of the things I think that should be present in trucks is something like an air suspension that dynamically adjusts the load and sort of keeps the angle of the truck correct and the ride height even and adjusts the damping in real time. Because the challenge you have with any vehicle where there's a big difference, a big potential difference between the minimum and maximum load is that the suspension is always wrong, and usually wrong by a lot. Like when I was driving an F-250 down the 405 one day, and honestly that thing was resonating at the 405, the little ridges between the, and I was like, man, my teeth are gonna rattle out of my head. It's like, but if you put load in it, it's fine. But if you're empty, it's not. So I think it'd be good to do that, and then obviously to make it light and really handle well. And again, that's where like having a battery pack low can improve the center of gravity. So I think it's possible to create a really well-handling truck that feels good at any load point. That'll be really great. So.
You've obviously given us some thought. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
This is from the attendees here.
Oh, wow, cool.
A big thank you, Tesla. You've all seen it, but we'd like to take back over the factory tonight, but this is for both of you. Okay.
All right. Cool. Pardon me?
Do you want to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, thank you very much for the thank you. We'll put that prominently in the factory. Jerome has been instrumental in the creation of the Model S and served as basically the overall program director. And then I actually asked him to step into the service role and kind of re-engineer service. So he's really a key part of the team and knows the Model S inside out and backwards. So any ideas and suggestions you have for improving the car or kind of the service experience, Jerome can answer and I think and respond. And actually, we want to actually take feedback and do things. So it's not just like say stuff and Tesla doesn't do anything. Like we want to actually do stuff. So Yeah, anyway, so I'll keep answering questions for a bit, and maybe some of those questions can be answered by Jerome. And then I'm going to have to head out with my kids, who I think are maybe reaching the end of their patience. All right, so go ahead.
Hi, Elon. My name's Warren. I live in Florida. I'm here with my wife, Darcy. And I just want to thank you for what you've done. I don't think it overstates it to say that what you're doing with Tesla and Solar City may very well be what changes the world and saves the planet for us to live on it. And thank you. And
well, I mean, I should say, you know, I very much appreciate that, but I think I should say that, you know, my role is small. It's a huge team effort for sure, you know, at Tesla and Solar City, and there are also, of course, many other solar companies, and so you know, I would not wish to take too much credit for such things, but the sentiment is appreciated.
great, yeah. I think you're inspiring to a lot of people, and that's really important. And I know that I absolutely love my Roadster, and I absolutely love our Model S, and I love driving around on solar-powered energy that's renewable and American-made, and it just feels wonderful to do that and to drive such fun cars. I'm excited about my Model X reservation and
Great.
about my brokerage account balance. Thank you. And my question is, I'm sure you know that there's a lot of Tesla Motors Club groups around the country, maybe I'm sure around the world. We're here with our good friend Larry Channon, who's the founder of the Florida Tesla Motors Club. And I was wondering if you thought it would be a worthwhile thing to periodically, annually, or whatever, to get together with the heads of these chapters and talk about, you know, get feedback from them that you might not get otherwise.
That's a pretty good idea. I think I'll give that some thought. I think that might make a lot of sense. Yeah.
And maybe they can bring a friend along with them.
Sure. All right.
Hi, Jerome and Elon. Angela Link. I'm from Williamsburg, Virginia. I want to thank you for the amazing car. I mean, I enjoy driving it every single day to work, and thanks for not making a fool out of me when I put money down on a car I'd never seen or driven. Right. You know, it was amazing. I had to go 200 miles just to see the car I had already put a reservation on,
Okay.
but I love it every day. I guess my one question would be on the valet parking. Is there any thought to being able to limit the speed of the car? I mean, of course, we're all very protective of our cars. We don't want anyone else to get in it and do some crazy things. Will there be any thought to limiting that via a button on the valet?
Yes. Yes. It's technically that actually is a function in the car already. It's just not been exposed to the end user.
Okay.
So.
Do you know when it will be?
Yeah. Yeah, right, exactly. It goes back to the point about features that'll come out. So maybe by the end of the year, we've got a bunch of things in kind of the feature release plan that we need to get through first. There's a ton of additional functionality that we want to add to the car via over-the-air update, but the thing that's held that up recently is just getting the European version of the car working. So there's been a lot of work by the software team on internationalization of the software, which has obviously limited then the actual features that can be rolled out. But I can say that tell you about some of the features that are going to come in fairly soon, maybe in the next 1 to 2 months. A lot of people have been asking for the maps to have a north-up capability, so you'll have that'll be rolled out in probably in about a month or two. Is north-up, and it'll also pre-cache the tiles. So you're going to have that capability. There will also be the ability to tether through your phone. So if you've got LTE on your phone and that's going to be faster, then you can tether through your phone and get higher speed connectivity. There will also be Wi-Fi capability. So yeah, So I think that's probably some good stuff that's going to come out.
Thank you, and thank you to the whole team. You've brought, it's a fabulous car. Can't say enough about it. Love it.
Thanks.
Well, on our trip here yesterday, and I spoke with Leilani last night, we encountered a little situation over at Harris Ranch, and I'm sold with the vision of Tesla. I love it. But our situation was we were stuck in the middle of nowhere, and our gas station broke down.
Okay.
So somebody up there was looking after us because we made it here.
Okay, good.
My concern is, is there in your future a vision to expand the range of Tesla?
If we really focused on range, it would be possible to create a 500-mile range Model S today. But it would be quite expensive. So the real question is that we're trying to sort of figure out what is the right range that makes it convenient still to do long-distance travel, but it isn't outrageously expensive or even more expensive than the car is today. Long term, I do think there will be longer range battery packs available, but the iteration interval is going to be approximately every 4 to 5 years is when we'll do sort of a step change in battery energy density and cost and range. So we're sort of aiming for maybe 3 years from now or thereabouts to have a step change improvement in the cost and range potential of the battery pack. It's quite a complicated endeavor to get there, but that's what we want to do. And on the Harris Ranch front, I should point out, if you haven't gone there recently, we've substantially expanded Harris Ranch. I think there's now 10 charging spots from there used to be 1. And we haven't yet completely rolled out the. In fact, I'm not sure if we rolled it out at all, but it will be going out very soon. The increase in charge rate from 90 kilowatts to 120 kilowatts. So that should really help a fair bit.
Lon, we actually, yes, I got to give credit to my brother-in-law. I drove with him up here, and he called Tesla, and they actually instructed him to reset that station. That's why we were able to get charged to get here. But my brother-in-law, Dan, is somewhere in here in the audience, but yes, he was actually able to reset it. But thank you very much. And in the meantime, I'll keep buying Tesla stock.
All right, thanks.
Okay, Alon?
All right, absolutely. With that said, thank you all very much. Deeply appreciate your support. And
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming here to California. I was quite surprised when I heard the questions how far some of you have traveled. And thank you for making those long trips. And I have seen some of the license plates in the parking lot. So many of you have come with the Model S, and I appreciate that. It's very encouraging to see cars from out of state here. So thank you for coming here. Maybe just 2 words about my role and what I'm trying to do. I started 3 years ago with Tesla, which makes me one of the old timers. Since April 1st, and it's not a joke, Elon has asked me to lead the service organization. Thank you. So he said, make it the best. Make it that people are happy, and don't worry about cost. So I said, okay, I can do that. So it's been a very intense 3-month journey, and I assume that most of you have seen that. The service organization doubled in 3 months. So that's crazy growth. Yeah. Last year I was in charge of engineering, and the organization grew by 50% in 1 year, and I thought that was a lot. But now we grew by 100% in 3 months. And it's challenging, and I tell you, in April, it was not easy hiring. Now it's gotten a lot easier. We've got some amazing talent applying at Tesla. coming from some extremely reputable service centers, and people want to join us, and they want to rally around the mission and bring their expertise, technical expertise, as well as expertise dealing with customers and making sure that they're always taken care of. So that's the mission, right? And I want to make sure that you are always super satisfied with the service you receive. Yeah? All the major service centers are also open 7 days a week. So thank you. Seattle, here, of course, Los Angeles, Houston, Dania Beach, Queens. I don't know. I mean, if there is another one that is not open 7 days a week and that you think should be, let me know, and then we'll do that. And we're also going to increase the hours as much as needed. And so that you are aware of the attention that we're paying to this every day of the week. At 5 p.m., me and some engineers and all the regional managers, we are reviewing all the interesting service cases. So the gentleman that was there stuck at Harris Ranch, this is probably something we're going to discuss tonight at 5 and discuss why is it that it happened that the thing had to be reset. You know, because any incident that prevents you from going, we consider to be of critical importance, and I want to review every day to make sure that not only we address it, but that we address the root cause. And that's it. Maybe we can ask some questions. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Andy. I wanted to say the Model S is one of the best products of any kind that I've ever bought. So thanks to everyone at Tesla for that. And it was really great to hear sort of your commitment to making like the service as, you know, best that it could be as well. Have you guys found that since all of the more exposure Model S has had in spring of this year, the good reviews and all that stuff, has that made any difference in how you guys are able to deal with third parties, suppliers, you know, finance companies, you know, that sort of thing? Because we did hear in the past that sometimes you had trouble with suppliers not taking you seriously or not, you know, giving your work, you know, as much priority as it should have.
Yeah, so I have to be also careful about what I say. You know, I'm also bound by some of the rules of being a public company. But just going back to the example I gave, you know, that I'm happy to share, in able to attracting talent at Tesla in terms of service, it's a lot easier. So seeing more cars on the road, seeing the company being more successful and on the, I think has helped us a lot in terms of attracting talent on the service organization, definitely. So I think you can assume, you know, that the similar halo effect is the same for the other parties that we're dealing with. Yeah. So things are a little bit easier. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, Jerome. How you doing? My name's Dave. I own Signature 1094. I think it's the last one of the lower 48. I know one of your largest challenges right now are ramping up and trying to cope with how fast the company is expanding and going. So two things in mind on the delivery and also with service. I'm wondering if you guys can't leverage the technology in the car to facilitate lowering your head count and making things a little bit more efficient. And the way I'm proposing this for you is in the delivery that the car should have a tutorial built within it. In other words, the Model S should be able to tell me how to use it right on the screen as one. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking interactive. It points, it presses buttons, it makes lights light, it shows me all the warnings, et cetera, et cetera. And then from a service standpoint, I would like my car to tell me that you've got 3,500 miles on it, maybe you need to look at the tires. Your service is coming up, and then another screen pop and go, here are the available slots at your local service center. Can you get it right in the car, right on the screen? It makes it seamless. It cuts out some people for you, especially if it's integrated properly and executed properly. I'd like to help you do that.
Thank you. I think that's a very good yes. It's a very good idea. We're always catching up a little bit to what we want to go. I mean, definitely having the owner's manual on the center display for me is a priority. Okay, Unfortunately, there's a lot of other priorities at Tesla, so sometimes we have to wait. But the idea that we have a paper owner's manual is revolting to me. And from day one, I said it needs to go. Why do we have to cut a tree, or even if it's recycled paper, to put an owner's manual when we have this beautiful display there? So I am pushing for this. So I think what we need to do is, you're absolutely right. Instead of us getting an alert calling you, we could directly give you the alert and then self-schedule. I completely endorse that.
Right.
And we'll move towards that direction, absolutely.
Hi, Jerome. I'm Dave from Toronto, Canada, Roadster owner. Question on the loaner program. It seems that the service centers are having a hard time holding on to their loaners. They're getting sold just as fast as they're being delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on tweaking the policy to make it tougher to buy the loaners, to lock in that inventory?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. And you know what? I'm under extreme pressure from the service organization to hold the loaners for a set period of time, you know. Unfortunately, we still have very razor-thin margins. And if we want to prosper, we need to be profitable. And therefore, if that car is sold, you know, we will try to give it to the person who bought it as soon as possible. I think the real effort that I want to follow is that loaners shouldn't be used for more than 1 or 2 days. So the service repair shouldn't take that long, you know, and therefore, you know, it should not be a problem. Because they would be just cycled naturally. You come back, you get your car, or we bring your car back, and then we can get that loaner to whoever bought it. And then I'm making, and this is something that I couldn't do in the second quarter because we were just, you know, in the middle of a lot of things. But every week in the third quarter, there is a certain number of cars we're building that are replacement loaners. So it was a little random and chaotic, I have to say, in the second quarter. But in the third quarter, I'm tired of hearing the stories too. You know, I have to deal with them. So I just like, okay, every week we'll be building a certain amount of cars so we can replace the one that we're selling. Yeah, I had to discuss with a certain person, but he agreed, and we're good to go.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leanne Herman. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. I'm here with my husband, who was sweet enough to buy me a Model S.
That's a nice gift.
That was my 50th birthday present. So we signed up for it in 2009, and people told me, you know, you've been awfully patient waiting for that car, and I'm like, it didn't even occur to me I was being patient. You know, I was just excited. So when I went down to test drive it in November last year, first time I'd seen one in person, because there's nothing near Tallahassee, went down to Dania Beach and test drove it. I told him, I said, you know, because we don't have a lot of money, I said, if it doesn't blow me away, I'm not going to do it. You know, I've had the reservation for 4 years, but if it doesn't blow me away, I'm going to walk away from it. And of course, it blew me away. If you can just tell people, all you've got to do is drive this car. That's all you got to do to sell it. You just get somebody behind the wheel, because if you've driven the Model S, you will never want to drive anything else. Now, I have to say, I've never driven a Roadster. I'd love to drive one. I've never driven a Roadster, but the Model S is amazing. I turned around, I had a Honda 1990 for 23 years. Stick shift, 4-cylinder motor. And I went from that to this Model S, and it's just unreal. You know, I'm just so ecstatic. And I'm a real green person, so this is like my paradise car, because it wraps everything into one. And I wanted to hug Elon so hard when he was here. But I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it. I'd had one little issue on design of the S, and it may not be the S, it may be something you might think about for the X. I don't know. Other cars have had this feature. I've never driven those either, but it's for people that are vertically challenged like me with short legs. The idea of having the pedals come forward, because when you move your little seat all the way up, it tends to change your visual. I haven't had a problem with my S, but I don't know what the X will be like. So I just wondered if y'all had even thought about that possibly for shorter folks with shorter legs.
It's a good thought. I'll let me think. The adjustable pedal you see in some vehicles. Typically, you can also address by moving the seats and making sure it's on the right track. And the steering column is also adjustable. But let me follow up. For S, it'll be difficult to change. But let me look at what it is for X.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, Jerome. My name's Kip Leong. The other day, I took my kids over to Fairfield to visit the Jelly Belly factory. I hope that that's something that Elon could do with his kids if he ever.
Maybe they're there right now.
But the Jelly Belly factory is not quite as cool as the Tesla factory. But one thing that did happen on the way there is I punched in I asked for it in the navigation, and then the navigation route took me over there, and it told me to take a hard right off the freeway through the trees into the parking lot of the Jelly Belly factory. So there's some problems with the navigation. And I also want to let you know that the traffic thing doesn't update properly, and it drives me crazy. Like if I zoom out, it seems to be right, but if I zoom back in, it doesn't update, and it's still cached from the old data. And that thing, I think, really needs to be addressed. And I would love for the navigation and the web browser to be integrated. It's like, say I go to Yelp, and I see a restaurant, I want to hit the address in Yelp and have it navigate there. And finally, laundry list. I would like to be able to kind of like hold my finger down on a spot on the map and have it navigate to that spot.
Yeah, thank you. Those are good suggestions. I know some of you have been extremely patient between the time when you have reserved the vehicle and the time we've been able to deliver it, and we appreciate your trust during all that time. And I can only ask for a little bit more patience until we get the ability to implement those features. But the awesome thing, really, that with the Tesla that you can't have with anybody else is it's not going to cost you a penny to get all those features. One morning you will wake up and they will be in the car, and I think that was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Jerome. My name is Charlie Culp. I'm from College Station, Texas. There are now four Model S's in College Station.
And thank you for supporting us in Texas.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
We're not the most backward state, but we're second.
No. I love Texas.
I do too. It's great. And I just really wanted to compliment you in all the service that exists on that. So you're inheriting an organization that does great service. Now, I also prepared I'm a professor and also a designer. I have a few little things here, if you'll accept this piece of paper.
Absolutely.
That has some software and some recommended hardware changes.
Excellent.
Thank you much.
I love suggestions. Thank you.
Hi, Jerome. Alan Soule from Sebastopol. I like to take road trips, and the superchargers are just fabulous, and where they're rolling out is great. But there are going to also be other fast chargers available that are mostly going to be the CHAdeMO. I would suggest that somebody come up with an adapter. I know that it's a little bit complicated with communications and stuff, but if possible, come up with an adapter that could go CHAdeMO into the Tesla.
Yeah, thank you. There is, so CHAdeMO is, I have to be careful what I say, because I cannot make forward-looking statements. So CHAdeMO is important in some of the countries where we intend to expand, and Elon already talked about it, so I can say that. Therefore, I think it's a very reasonable request you just made.
Good.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your time, and enjoy the rest.